It's late at night. The room is quiet. The lights are dim. You put on your headphones and play a song you know will make you sad. Maybe it's Someone Like You by Adele, or something like The Night We Met by Lord Huron. Within seconds, the feeling starts to build. Your chest tightens a little. Memories begin to drift through your mind. Sometimes, your eyes even start to water. But here's the strange part. You don't turn the song off. In fact, you often do the opposite. You let it finish, and then you play it again. This is the paradox. If sadness is supposed to be an unpleasant emotion, why do people intentionally seek it out in music? Why do sad playlists get millions of streams? Why do songs that make people cry often become the most beloved songs ever written? The usual explanation seems simple. People say they listen to sad music to process their emotions, and that sounds reasonable. But if that were the whole story, there's one detail that doesn't quite make sense. A lot of people listen to sad music even when they aren't sad. So what's actually happening in the brain? To understand that, we need to go through 5 different layers of psychology. And the first one starts with a detail most people have never noticed. Sad music sounds surprisingly similar to the way humans speak when they're sad. If you listen closely to many sad songs, you'll notice a pattern. The tempo is slower. The melody often moves downward instead of upward. The vocal delivery feels softer and heavier. What's interesting is that these patterns didn't originate in music. They already existed somewhere else, in the human voice. When people feel sad, their voices naturally change. Their pitch drops. They speak more slowly. Their sentences stretch out. Scientists call this prosody, the emotional tone embedded in speech. But here's the fascinating part. Many researchers believe sad music is essentially a musical imitation of sad speech. In other words, sad melodies are not random. They are the sound of a sad voice, stretched into music. But there's a detail people often overlook. The human brain evolved to detect emotions in voices, not in music. So when music starts copying those vocal patterns, our brains begin reacting in a very specific way. Researchers studying vocal expression have found something striking. The acoustic features of sad speech closely match the features of sad music. Lower pitch, slower tempo, and melodies that tend to fall rather than rise. This phenomenon is called prosodic mimicry. Music imitates the emotional tone of human speech. Take the song Skinny Love by Bon Iver. The voice is fragile. The melody drops gently from phrase to phrase. It almost sounds like someone quietly confessing something painful. Or listen to Someone Like You. Many of the vocal phrases stretch and soften, almost like someone speaking through a sigh. But the important part isn't the music itself. It's how the brain interprets those sounds. When these patterns appear, the brain doesn't just hear a melody. It hears something that resembles an emotional voice, and that changes the way we experience the music. Suddenly, the song feels personal. But this leads to another question. If music sounds like a voice, who exactly do we feel like we're listening to? When sad music mimics the emotional patterns of speech, listeners often experience something very familiar. the feeling of being understood. You may have never met the artist, but when you hear the song, it feels like they're expressing something you couldn't put into words yourself. In media psychology, this is called parasocial intimacy. It's the feeling of emotional closeness with someone you don't actually know. Music creates this effect incredibly well, especially sad music. Think about All Too Well by Taylor Swift. Fans don't just hear a song, they feel like they're listening to a deeply personal story, almost like reading someone's diary. But here's something interesting. This sense of emotional connection isn't created by lyrics alone. Even instrumental music can create the same feeling. So, what's really triggering that emotional response? The answer lies in a much older system inside the brain, our evolutionary empathy system. Throughout human evolution, we had to learn how to recognize signs of distress in others. A crying child, a trembling voice, someone speaking slowly, struggling to hold themselves together. These sounds activate a powerful system in the brain, our empathy response. This system helps us detect when someone might be in pain. When it activates, we instinctively pay attention. We lean in. We try to understand what the other person is feeling. And here's the surprising part. Many sad songs trigger this exact system, because the vocal delivery in sad music often includes things like breathiness, unstable pitch, and slower phrasing. These are the same acoustic signals that appear in real human distress. A good example is the famous cover of Hurt by Johnny Cash. His voice sounds fragile, almost worn down. Each line feels less like a performance and more like a confession. When people listen to that song, they don't just hear music. They feel something deeper. They feel empathy. But this raises an important question. In real life, hearing someone suffer usually makes us uncomfortable. It creates tension. It creates stress. So why doesn't sad music feel the same way? Why does it often feel strangely comforting? The answer lies in a very important detail. Your brain knows no one is actually in danger. When we hear a real person in distress, the brain prepares for action. Heart rate rises. Attention sharpens. We feel the urge to help. But music changes the context completely. Even though the emotional signals are there, the brain also recognizes something else. This is not a real situation. No one is actually asking for help. Nothing needs to be fixed. So instead of triggering full stress, the brain allows us to experience the emotion safely. Scientists sometimes describe this as safe threat simulation. It's similar to what happens when we watch horror movies. Our bodies experience fear, but we also know we're sitting safely in a theater or on a couch. Sad music works the same way. It lets us experience the intensity of sadness without the real-life consequences. We can explore the feeling, sit inside it for a moment, and then simply stop the song. But something even more interesting happens next. Music doesn't just simulate sadness. It organizes sadness into something structured and meaningful. And this is where art begins to do something life itself rarely does. One of the clearest examples of sad music's emotional power is Someone Like You by Adele. Released in 2011, the song quickly became one of the most iconic ballads of the decade. But what makes it so emotionally powerful? The answer starts with the arrangement. The song is incredibly minimal, just a piano and a voice. no heavy drums, no elaborate production. This simplicity leaves a huge amount of space for the vocal performance, and Adele uses that space carefully. The melody often begins in a comfortable range and then gently falls downward. This mirrors the pattern of sad speech, almost like someone speaking quietly after accepting a painful truth. But the real emotional impact comes from the vocal delivery. Adele doesn't sing this song like a typical pop powerhouse. Instead, she sings it almost like someone telling a personal story. Certain notes crack slightly. Some phrases stretch longer than expected. It sounds less like a polished performance and more like someone remembering something painful. And audiences respond in a very interesting way. At concerts, when Adele performs this song, something unusual happens. The crowd often sings the chorus together, not softly, loudly. Tens of thousands of people singing a song about heartbreak. But instead of feeling heavier, the atmosphere often feels strangely uplifting, almost communal, a shared emotional moment. So why does a song about loss create an experience that feels beautiful? The answer leads us to the final layer of this story, and it comes from an idea in philosophy. In real life, sadness is a problem, a breakup, a painful memory, a loss we wish had never happened. The brain treats these events as things that need to be solved. But when sadness appears inside art, something changes. The brain recognizes that the experience exists inside a safe psychological frame. This creates what philosophers call aesthetic distance, a small mental gap between us and the emotion itself. That gap transforms how we experience sadness. Instead of feeling trapped inside it, we can observe it, reflect on it, even appreciate its depth. This is similar to the way we can watch a rainy scene in a film and think it looks beautiful, even though real rain might make us miserable. Art reorganizes emotion. It turns raw sadness into something more reflective, more contemplative, more meaningful. But there's one final idea that ties everything together, and it changes the way we think about sad music entirely. The ability to experience sadness as something meaningful rather than threatening. That's why the saddest songs often become the most beloved ones, because inside music, sadness doesn't just hurt. It becomes something we can understand, something we can share, and sometimes something strangely beautiful. So the next time you find yourself replaying a sad song late at night, it may not be because you enjoy suffering. It may simply be because music has found a way to turn pain into something the human mind can finally hold without fear.